I politely declined to watch my neighbor's house while she was away. Days later, police knocked, saying my home was the last place her missing cat's GPS tagged. I checked my garage and there it was, scratched and starving. When she returned, she said, "Sometimes creatures find where they truly belong." But when I reviewed my security footage, the timestamp on her departure didn't match because I'm 41, divorced, no kids. I live alone in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I like it that way. I work from home as a contract analyst. My life is quiet and predictable. I drink the same coffee every morning, walk the same 2 miles in the evening, and spend most nights on the porch reading or watching the neighborhood from behind my screen door. I don't go out of my way to make friends. Not because I'm rude, but because I don't trust easily. People have let me down in the past, ex-wife included, and I'm okay keeping to myself now. But I'm polite. I wave. I return greetings. I mind my own business. So when my neighbor Danielle knocked on my door one Sunday afternoon, I already had a feeling it wasn't going to be a short visit. She had this bubbly way of talking, always smiling, even when she was clearly annoyed. She wore this flowy green top and had her hair up in a messy bun like she was just effortlessly breezing through life. But her energy? Off. Too forced. She just moved in across the street 6 months ago and had tried chatting me up before, asking about my job, if I liked to barbecue, if I had any pets. I always kept it short. That day, she stood on my porch holding a ceramic cat mug and asked, "Hey! I was wondering if you could do me a tiny favor?" I leaned on the doorframe. "Depends what it is." She laughed like I'd told a joke. "I'm going to Utah next week to visit my sister. Just for 5 days. I was hoping someone could pop in, feed my cats, water the plants, maybe collect the mail. Nothing major." I hesitated. She noticed. "Just once a day. Or even every other day. They're really low maintenance." "I appreciate you asking," I said, "but I've got a work deadline that week. Can't really commit to anything outside of that." Her smile froze. It was quick, just a flicker, but I saw it. Then she laughed again and said, "Oh, sure. Of course. No problem. Not everyone's a cat person." She turned and left without another word. Now, maybe someone else wouldn't think twice about that exchange. But I noticed the way she emphasized cat person. Like it was some kind of dig. Like I was heartless for saying no. Whatever. I figured she'd find someone else. There's a teenager down the street who mows lawns. Maybe she'd ask him. Fast forward a few days. It's a Thursday. I'm on a Zoom call when I hear a knock on the door. 2 people in uniform. Not mailmen. Cops. I pause the meeting and step outside. One of them asks if I know Danielle across the street. I say yes. They tell me she just returned from her trip and found one of her cats missing. She checked the GPS tracker, and the last location it pinged was on my property. I thought I misheard. I even laughed a little. "You're saying her cat's in my house?" "Not necessarily," one of them said. "But the signal stopped near here. We're just asking if you've seen him." "I haven't seen anything." "Do you mind if we look around?" Now here's the thing, I had nothing to hide. But having 2 cops at your house, poking around, makes you feel like you did something wrong no matter what. We checked the backyard. Under the porch. Side alley. Nothing. Then I remembered the garage. I rarely go in there. Mostly just keep boxes and old tools in there. I opened the side door. The smell hit first. Like something sour had been sitting there too long. We stepped in. There was a scratching noise. We followed it to behind an old cabinet near the back wall. And there he was. Milo. Dirty. Covered in dust. Eyes wide. Like he'd been there for days. One cop crouched down and coaxed him out. The other looked at me. "You didn't know he was here?" "No," I said. "I don't know how he got in. The garage stays locked. They exchanged looks. One of them nodded slowly, like he didn't buy it. They left without saying much else. Took the cat. Said they'd write up a report. I stood in the driveway watching them go, and already I could feel it. People staring through their blinds. Phones in hands. You know the type. I became the weird guy across the street who steals cats. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Something was wrong. I pulled up my security footage. I've got 3 cameras, one on the porch, one angled at the driveway and street, and one pointed at the side garage door. Danielle told the police she left Monday morning at 9. So I went to Monday at 9. Nothing. No car pulling out. No front door opening. She didn't leave that day. I scrubbed through Tuesday. At 12:04 p.m. I saw her. Walking across the street. Holding a towel in her arms. Looking around like she was checking for anyone watching. She walked up to my garage, pulled open the side door, went in for less than a minute, came back out empty-handed. At 1:36 p.m., she finally left in her car with luggage. So she lied. She planted the cat. Then left town. The camera caught it all. The next morning, she came back to my door. I didn't say anything. I just opened it halfway. She smiled, wearing a cardigan and holding a thermos. Hey! Just wanted to say thanks. For, helping Milo. He must have wandered in, but animals are smart, right? I said nothing. She tilted her head. Sometimes creatures find where they truly belong. Then she smiled wider, turned, and walked back across the street. I closed the door and stood there for 10 minutes, boiling. She wanted me to feel like I did something wrong. She wanted me to be the one apologizing. But she made a mistake. She didn't know I record everything. The more I thought about it, the more it got under my skin. She set me up. Not by accident. Not a misunderstanding. She chose to lie. She knew I'd say no to house sitting, and instead of moving on like a normal person, she planted her cat in my garage to make me look like a thief. Or worse. For what? To punish me for not doing her a favor? That's not just petty. That's messed up. So I made a folder. I copied all the camera footage. I saved it in 2 separate places, one in the cloud, one on a hard drive. Then I printed a few key screenshots and slipped them into a manila envelope. I didn't know what I was going to do with them yet, but I wanted to be ready. That weekend I noticed something. Danielle had guests. A couple with a baby came by and stayed the night. I saw them unload suitcases. Next morning, they were outside chatting while their toddler ran around the yard. Later that day, Danielle stopped me while I was checking my mailbox. Hey, just so you know, she said, fake sweet as always. My cousin and her family are visiting. They've got a baby, so if you hear crying or anything, sorry in advance. I nodded but said nothing. Then she added, also, if you're worried about Milo being outside, don't be. He loves to wander, but I added a few extra locks. That was a dig. I felt it. 2 nights later, I heard something slam. Like metal. I checked my cameras. One of her guests, her cousin's husband, had left the gate open. Milo darted out, ran across the street, and jumped onto my porch. Again. This time, I stepped outside with my phone already recording. I crouched down and gently picked up Milo. He was shaking. His GPS collar was blinking red. I knocked on her door. She answered. Saw Milo in my arms. Didn't look surprised at all. Oh no, she said. He got out again. Poor thing. He just loves your house, huh? I said loud enough for her guests inside to hear. He was on my porch again. Not the garage this time, at least. She froze for half a second. I handed her the cat and turned around before she could say anything. Back in my house, I watched the footage again. Then I got an idea. I sent an anonymous tip to Animal Control. Told them a cat had been left without food and water in a locked garage for several days and almost died. I attached screenshots. No names, no details. Just the evidence. Next morning, they showed up. She wasn't home, but I watched from my window as they checked around her yard, talked to her cousin, and wrote something down. I didn't hear anything right away. But that was just round one. That night I did some digging. Danielle had mentioned her job once during a neighbor barbecue. That she worked for a pet adoption nonprofit just outside town. I looked it up. Found the website. She was listed as a community outreach coordinator. The kind of role where reputation mattered. So I made a burner email. Sent the video clip and screenshots of her walking the cat into my garage, plus a timestamp comparison showing the lie about when she left town. I didn't say who I was. Just said I thought the organization should know what kind of person was representing their name. 2 days later, she stopped showing up to work. Her car stayed parked in front of her house all day. Then came the whispering. From other neighbors. A few had started piecing things together. Some knew I had cameras. Some had heard about animal control stopping by. Word spreads fast when you're the new drama on the block. But the twist? A week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You think you're so smart. You'll regret this. Typed. No name. And taped to it was one of my old utility bills. My trash from weeks ago. She'd been going through my garbage. That changed everything. She wasn't just trying to embarrass me now. She was trying to scare me. Get in my head. So I changed the locks. I installed 2 more cameras, one on the side yard, one above the trash bins. And I started documenting everything. She wanted to play games? Fine. I could play back. But I wasn't going to just expose her. I was going to destroy her reputation, take back control of my name, and make sure she never pulled this crap again. She started this. But I was going to finish it. After that letter showed up, something in me changed. I'd never been a petty or vengeful person. Not even after my divorce. But this woman, Danielle, she wanted a war. And I wasn't going to sit and wait for the next time she tried to smear me. She planted her cat in my garage. Lied to the cops. Made it look like I was some sick pet thief. Then had the nerve to send threats and dig through my trash like a stalker. It was time to bury her. But not with anger. With evidence. First, I filed a police report about the letter. I included photos of the typed note, the utility bill it was taped to, and a timeline of what had happened since the cat incident. I attached the garage footage, the timestamps, the email I'd sent to her job. Everything. The officer I spoke to took it more seriously than I expected. I guess because of the pattern: animal neglect, false report, and now a clear attempt to intimidate me. He said, "You've done a lot of our work for us." He wasn't kidding. The next step was HOA. Normally I hate them, but this time, I used them. Danielle had violated 2 rules: letting her cat wander unsupervised, against their pet policy, and placing false accusations against a neighbor. I showed up to the next HOA meeting with a flash drive. Played the video on the projector. You should have seen the room. Quiet as a church. Then gasps when she walked across the street on camera, cat and towel, slipping into my garage like some psycho. HOA leadership asked if they could keep the copy. I told them I'd email it. Then I left. Next day, Danielle knocked on my door. I didn't open it. I spoke through the camera. "You're not welcome here. Don't ever step on my property again." She just stood there, jaw tight, hands and fists. Then she spat on my welcome mat and stormed off. Big mistake. Because that was the same day her job emailed me. They said, quote, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Ms. Pierce is no longer employed at our organization. We take animal safety and community trust very seriously." She was fired. That same week, Animal Control called me. They'd done a follow-up inspection after receiving multiple anonymous complaints from other neighbors. Apparently, Her cousin's kid had told someone at school that the kitty got locked in the scary dark place. That got passed around. They cited her for animal endangerment and lying to a public officer. $1,100 in fines. 2 weeks later, a for sale sign went up in her yard. I didn't see her outside much after that. No forced smiles. No waves. No cat people comments. Just blinds drawn, lights off, silence. She left 2 months later. Didn't even say goodbye. I watched from my porch as the moving truck pulled away. Her cousin helped pack. Milo was in the front seat, staring out the window like he knew. When they were gone, I walked across the street. Taped to the mailbox was another envelope. Inside was a photo of her old house key, snapped in half. Nothing else. I smiled. Later that year, I got invited to a neighborhood barbecue. First time in years I said yes. People were friendlier. One neighbor even said, "Glad you're still here. You handled that cat thing better than most would've." I just nodded. But here's the part one never told anyone. 2 days before she left, my side garage camera caught her again. 3:12 a.m. She stood there, staring at my house. Holding something. She bent down and placed it in front of my garage door. Then she walked away. When I checked later that morning, it was a cat toy. Milo's favorite one, the feathered wand. Wrapped around it was a post-it note that said, "I only wanted help." I kept that toy. Not because I forgave her, but because it reminded me that people will twist anything if they think it gets them sympathy. She wanted me to feel guilty. She wanted control. But she lost everything. Because she messed with the wrong neighbor. And I had cameras. Always had. Always will.